This is the OPPO Find X8 Pro, and Apple might be in big trouble seeing this because it seems like OPPO wants to bridge the gap between Android's and Apple's user experience with this iPhone-like features. So is OPPO trying to be friends or trying to be the enemy to grab Apple fans over to this phone? So from the look of the phone, there is a very tiny off-white color that looks like marble. Now OPPO calls this the pearl white color. Don't care what they call it because to me, I really love this. Now it's hands down my favorite smartphone finish this year with the frosted glass back, and I've been carrying this phone with me alongside the iPhone 16 Pro Max for a week right now. And this feels like a complete phone. They have it in space black as well, which looks more elegant for some people, but for me it looked a little boring compared to this amazing smartphone finish. Now design-wise, it looks more refined than the last generation OPPO Find X7 series. They had a dual tone which was more stylish and Gen Z focus, if that makes any sense. But this is inclined more towards a formal, minimal, clean look, which to be honest is a good decision because companies now are shifting towards a more simpler look because that appeals to a more broader audience. Now Asus also did the same with their ROG series where they went from this is a portable RGB computer to this is also a computer but without the RGB. Now I personally both love and hate this design. Love because this packs such a beautiful looking lenses. Hate because the camera module in comparison is really huge compared to the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Now this is of course because of the huge camera sensors, therefore it looks like a huge moon with 4 craters on it, and I'll be showing lots of camera samples in this video, so stay tuned for that. And it also has the alert slider, definitely not taking any inspiration from any other brands. OnePlus or even older iPhones. Now speaking of this slider or buttons, there is a dedicated shutter button which they call the quick capture button, but I won't go as far to say that they have copied iPhone over here since Sony made this particular button more famous in their Xperia smartphones. But at least OPPO officially calls this a button, and although it doesn't click like a button, it has haptic feedback which was really nice. Now once you flip this phone around, it has a 6.7 inches 120Hz LTPO AMOLED display with 450 pixel per inch. So this is really sharp, and it has 4500 nits of peak brightness. Now you won't face any issues in a very bright environment like here in the studio with lots of studio lights or even in direct sunlight. And here is a quick comparison between the iPhone in sunlight and this. As you can see, it performs very well. But this phone performs slightly better because it has more numbers and a newer display, and this also smoothly curves slightly from all of the sides, where it stands between a typical curved smartphone screen and a flat display. It is literally in between, making it super satisfying to use gesture navigations, and the hand just glides through very easily, especially with the 1 to 120Hz refresh rate screen. So in short, this is a very nice close to being bezel-less display where you won't regret wasting any time watching TikTok. Of course, watching videos on the phone too, because the display on this phone is one of the major reasons for you to get this particular phone. So how well does the MediaTek Dimensity 9400 SoC and the 16GB of RAM perform daily? Now while the processor might feel ahead in the majority of the scenarios, but there are still some areas where the Apple's A18 Pro just holds well. Now you see, OPPO has more raw power, which is good, but that peak performance falls faster compared to the A18 Pro. But on the other hand, Apple just has the ability to sustain more power thanks to the software optimization, and this is where the problem starts to take over because the faster the phone gets, it heats up faster, where it reduces the battery, which does degrade the battery health in long run. But that does not mean that the OPPO will become a hassle to use because this cools down way faster as compared to other phones. So if you are a normal user, then you won't have any complaints about heating at all. Now Apple also tried to fix their heating issues in the iPhone 16 series with a graphite sheet, but still there are tons of complaints on the internet about heating issues on this iPhone 16 series as well. Now gaming on this phone was very great, probably not in long periods, and this is not because of the overheating but more for comfort, because remember this large camera bump? Yeah, it feels like my fingers are wrestling with a mini skyscraper. But weirdly enough, the gaming does not go higher than 60Hz, so keep that in mind. Now there's a ginormous 5910 milliamps of battery. Now this is tiny smaller than the Vivo X200 Pro, and speaking of which, a comparison between this and the Vivo X200 Pro is coming really soon, so do subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't done so. And while you're going towards the subscribe button, give this video a nice big thumbs up if you guys are enjoying this video so far, and that would be very much appreciated too, as we are on the way towards 200,000 subscribers in this channel, so thank you very much in advance. Now, based on my daily usage, I was getting an average of 5 hours of screen on time with dark mode turned on. There's an 80-watt charging brick inside of the box, hence it has that level of wired charging and 50 watts of wireless and 10 watts of reverse wireless charging. So yes, this phone does not hold back on its battery performance, but another area where it doesn't hold back is the camera's performance. So let's look at that next. So the camera images on all of these 50 megapixel lenses are just unreal. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Starting from the ultra-wide lenses, it had great coverage with a nice ultra-wide angle without being soft at the edges. The dynamic range was super on point, not missing out any details on the brighter and the darker areas of the image. The main lenses were high in quality and the dynamic range were really great too. And of course, that is to be expected for a flagship phone like this. As for the zooming capabilities, there is the 2, 3 and 6 times zoom by default on the camera app, where it looked really amazing and sharp. Now you can zoom up to 120 times, and what's interesting is that the image processing for the zoom images were better when I tested with the X200 Pro side by side. So yes, that was shocking, but as mentioned, an in-depth comparison video will be coming soon. However, I was struggling to get my composition lined up properly from the 60 times zoom onwards, and it was pretty shaky, but once you nail the shots, rest assured that you'll be getting the utmost best quality, especially because of the post-image processing. Now, the nighttime photos for the ultra-wide, the main lenses and the telephoto lenses was also amazing too, as seen in these shots. The amount of details just screams quality. There's the burst mode feature called lightning snap, where I managed to take some great shots during some fireworks, where the images were just as easy as pressing and holding the shutter button to take lots of pictures, and the gallery app will help you choose the best ones. However, one of the biggest strengths is the portrait mode for humans, where the subject to background blur and the edge detection was simply flawless during the day and at night. Now that was great for humans, but it could be a hit or miss for more intricate or regular objects in general. Now, I also love how well the phone did for selfie photos, because gone are the days of having those annoying weird softness on your skin. Now, video-wise, the rear cameras can record up to 4K 60 FPS with Dolby Vision. Dynamic range was also really good here, and the image stabilization was also great, whether or not you turn on the ultra steady mode. So for me, I would just say just stick to the non-ultra steady mode, because the images was just a tiny bit larger. Now, I was particularly very impressed with the nighttime videos though, because this did an incredible job with no weird lens flares like the iPhone, with perfect balance of highlights and shadows. And while the quality was great at night, but the stabilization was a bit jittery but still usable, but it was the best when you're using the main camera. The front cameras was also great during the day, recording up to 4K 60 FPS as well. During at night or low light situations, you can use the flash, which technically uses the screen as a light to light your face, but I found that without the screen as a light, it still looked really great as long as there's some level of light. And you can use the Hasselblad color profiles or filters to get some different look for your photos. Now, it's not as extensive to edit as how it is on the iPhone 16 models, but overall did turn out great. Very close to how the Leica filter is on the latest Xiaomi phones, where you can do this type of filters for videos as well. And here's an audio recording test using the front cameras for a vlogging situation. So let me know what you think of the audio recording. Alright, so this is a very quick vlogging test for me to use the front cameras, and of course for me to hear, or for you guys to hear, how it sounds for a vlogging situation. So this is a microphone test, test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. There is a ceiling fan right above, but other than that, it's pretty decently quiet over here. So here is a sound test. Now, it's been years since I've been using ColorOS, and this ColorOS 15 is definitely going towards a very interesting direction. But there's still one problem. When you boot up the phone the first time, you'll be introduced with lots of bloatwares and ads all around the UI, which is something that you should not expect for a phone within this price range. Yes, you can turn it off and the ads all in the settings, and you can also disable some of the apps as well, but not all of them, which might be an issue for a lot of people. But they did great with providing 5 years of software updates and 6 years of security updates. It feels good because Remember the times where we always say about how Apple gives longer OS updates? Now this have been shifted to almost every single brand, giving at least a minimum of 5 years of updates. Now of course Samsung were the one who really set the standards of 7 years of OS updates when they introduced the S24 series. Funny enough, before the Google Pixel did that. And while there are some features on the phone like the double click on the power button and sliding at the top right for the smart sidebar, the biggest yes for me was firstly the amazing and smoothness of the UI and the overall animation. I guarantee that you'll be left with questions like, what is lag? What are stutters? Now secondly is the AI features. Features like the AI reflection remover was on point, where even the AI eraser could not only remove regular objects or photo bombers, but even for an entire person. For this case, it was me in front of a glass sliding door. It works so well that it puts Google's magic eraser to shame, where I would say that this is on par with Samsung's Galaxy AI, better than iPhone's cleanup as the making of this video. So indeed, this shows how ColorOS is really improving. But where it gets really interesting is the iOS-like software features, which I'll go into next. Now firstly, there's the AirDrop-like feature, which OPPO calls it the touch to share, which allows people to share files seamlessly with iPhones as well. So this stops you from the fear of missing out feeling, because AirDrop is of course widely used since the iPhone is still one of the top selling phones in the world, but you'll need to use the O Connect app. But there'll be a software update that will be coming soon that will allow you to touch with an iPhone, similar like how iPhones does it, which will be coming really soon according to OPPO. So as of the recording of this video, it's just using the app, but yes, it does work seamlessly. But if that was not close to being iOS enough, there's the Aqua Dynamics feature, which is similar to iOS Dynamic Island, where it minimizes certain apps into the top of the screen, which was interesting because it arranges very well and similar like the Dynamic Island. And then there's the quick capture button, while similar to the iPhone, but the zoom in feature does not work on a vertical orientation, only on a landscape orientation. Now a feedback was given to OPPO from all of us content creators and fellow medias to make sure to include this level of zooming, because we use this for Instagram stories. So hopefully there'll be a software update for this. Then there's also even a similar live photos, where if you share the photo to an iPhone, it will have the similar live photo capabilities too. But to make people slide in even more easily, there's even some MagSafe-like accessories for this new X8 series, which does create a positive impact at some extent, since people are more familiar with these features. But the biggest question is that, are all of these iPhone-like features introduced to make people switch or to be a digital buddy of an iPhone user? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.